Happy Sunday. This is In the Company of Cards Weekend Edition. My name's Erica Robinson. I'm the author of The Language of Lenormand, as well as the deck called Erica's Lenormand of Hope. And please like, share, subscribe, all of that. I'm going to look at three questions, I think, today, unless more happen to occur to me as I'm talking. But the first thing I want to say is, how sorry I am about the hostages that were, you know, just missed being rescued, but were instead slain by Hamas. May those young people's memory be a blessing, as they say. But even more, I want to look at the question of war and Israel and Hamas and the Palestinians and Netanyahu in light of this recent horrific act. So I guess the question is, I think I would like to look specifically at Netanyahu. Netanyahu is, of course, not American Jewry. He is not even Israeli Jewry. He is the Prime Minister of Israel. He is beset by opposition in his own country. He's kind of like what, Trump Jr., Israel's version of Trump. We know that he would prefer for Trump to be reelected. We also know or suspect that he will want to keep war going. We know because he has refused to negotiate with Hamas for the release of the rest of the hostages or the bodies of the hostages, or now Hamas are bad guys. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Also, didn't everybody's mother tell them that two wrongs don't make a right? And the Palestinian people are being oppressed on a pretty grand scale, in my opinion. During the most recent news conference or interview that Harris did with Dana Bash. Dana, you could have done a little better with your questions, but we'll leave that alone. Harris was asked about her stance in relation to this Israeli-Palestinian situation. And she first and unequivocally voiced support for Israel's right to exist. I mean, all people should have a right to exist, right? So, okay, that's good. I thought that her comment about Palestinians deserving a homeland that's safe and secure and peaceful and is of their own determination felt a little bit kind of tacked on. It didn't feel as, the support for that did not seem as vociferous as the support for Israel. I'm just saying. Now, she is the vice president, the current vice president. We know that Biden is Israel, 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 all day, every day. In the early stages, when he was asked about the plight of the Palestinians and how they were being genocided, I mean, I'm just saying, he said, these were the words out of his mouth. He said, "I don't believe it." Wait, what? You don't believe it? it's a very, the whole subject is fraught for more reasons than I can go into here. If you go to my Substack, which you can find under the name In the Company of Cards, if you search back, you'll see that I did do a Substack article about this a while back, where I went into a little bit more depth. But here's what I want to know. First question will be, will Netanyahu be, what is Netanyahu's trajectory between now and election day here? So between now and 2 months from now, November. So I'm just gonna cut the deck. And I'm gonna use the older man to represent Netanyahu. And I want to see what his trajectory is. And that means basically, what are his intentions? What will be his fate at that point? Things could be still status quo. I don't know. But this will stand for Netanyahu. And I'm taking the two cards that precede him and putting them to the left, and taking the two cards that would come after him and putting them to the right. And then I think I'm going to draw a clarifier or two or three on the last couple of cards. Okay, so we have the garden, we have mice, we have Netanyahu, we have the dog, and the final card in the line of 5 is clouds. Okay, so I'm going to put those back and then talk about the line and then go over the clarifiers. So this is the public. And I'm going to say this is the Israeli public. They are really nervous, anxious, as they should be, not just about the war, but about what Netanyahu's intentions are. Is he going to create a wider war? Because that might serve to keep him in power longer. Everybody's sons and daughters get conscripted in Israel. So that's a scary thought. Will war widen? Will war continue? So the public is really nervous about him. Here he is. And then very interesting that we have the dogs and we have clouds. Because we're in this election cycle here, he doesn't know who his friends are going to be. We know that Biden is on his side, but Harris may be less of a known quantity. America will always advocate for Israel's right to exist. I mean, of course. But what will that mean? Will that mean countenancing genocide of Palestinians? The jury's out on how friendly and what kind of friendliness will be constituted in a Harris administration. So I decided to pull clarifiers on the dog and the clouds. So remember, the dog is Israel's allies, of whom we are the primary, right? And the clarifiers that I got for that are the child, the sun, and the snake. Let me say that come November, really come January, because that's when we have the inauguration, there will be a new sheriff in town in the United States. I posit that it will be Harris. This is someone new. And it will be crystal clear, that's the sun, crystal clear, no hiding behind the fact that this alliance is problematic. For those of you who don't know, I'm just going to say in a nutshell this. People of color who have the experience of oppression are always going to side with people who are oppressed. This is why there was a strong Jewish Black affinity and connection in, let's say, the 60s. I remember that when I was a child. But you cannot be both the oppressor and the oppressed. So I think that Harris may view the Netanyahu stance in a little bit more nuanced way than Biden does, with a little, nuanced, more twists and turns. Again, with Biden, it's just we're all in for Israel. We're all in for Israel. Palestinians who? That seems to be Biden's stance. That's less Harris's stance, because she's a woman of color. She knows what people of color think about this whole thing. You can't be the oppressed and the oppressor at the same time. So Netanyahu is well aware that trouble could be on the horizon for him when the new sheriff comes in town and when the US, Israel's ally, reassesses what true allyship does mean, should mean, ought to mean. Okay. Then I pulled clarifiers on clouds because he's worried about this. Clouds are about doubts. This is Netanyahu saying, well, I know I've got Trump in my pocket. And Biden's kind of been sitting in there too. I don't know. I'm doubtful about whether I can rope in Harris to the same extent. So the clarifiers for that doubt are the scythe, the bear, and the moon. Now, a scythe is about decisions. He's deciding that he wants to side with Trump. This is always my card for Trump. It could be my card for Netanyahu too, if you think about it. I mean, it's the card for a narcissist, someone who has self-interest primary, and we have the moon, which is reputation. Now, when I look at these clarifiers, I can mirror the clouds with the moon. I think Netanyahu's reputation will continue to be in a period of decline. I think that his allegiance to Trump will become more and more clear and will undercut his reputation even further should the election go in the direction that I think it's going to go, which is against Trump. Now I can mirror the very first card I pulled, which was the garden. This is people, the public, with the moon. And I think Netanyahu's reputation is going to take a hit. Again, Netanyahu is not Israel. And there are a lot of Israelis and a lot of American Jews who do not like what Netanyahu's policy is. But there's going to be a reevaluation by the public of Israel's reputation, of Netanyahu's reputation, of the degree to which we're in for a penny, in for a pound with whatever it is that Israel wants to do. So I would say watch this space. I think that Netanyahu is ultimately self-interested, does not want Harris to be not elected, and is holding out hope that Trump will pull it out of the hat to a hat trick, whatever you want to call it. But I think that Netanyahu's, and you don't have to be a reader to see this, his star is on the wane. So, okay. Uh, and you know what? Why don't we look at Harris in relation to Israel? In relation to this question of Israel. Am I imagining that her stance is less buddy buddy through thick or thin, no matter what you do, we're good with it, than Biden's? Maybe that's just wishful thinking. So let's ask the cards. What is Harris's stance on Israel and what we owe them in terms of friendship and allegiance? So this time I'm going to look for Harris, and she pops right up. So she's right here. Only one card preceded her, so I'm going to put that to the left of her, and then I'm going to pull 3 cards to the right of her to make up our 5 cards. And I'm going to pull a couple of clarifiers on the last 2 cards. Okay. So the card that comes before Harris is the scales. And here's Harris, she's the second card. So really, this is very interesting. This is the card for cost benefit analysis. You know, what kind of stance serves the United States? Of course, it serves the United States to be friends with Israel, of course. But does it serve the United States to discount their treatment of the Palestinians, who, to people of color in this country anyway, are people of color, oppressed? Harris will be assessing that. Okay, so I like that. In the center, very interesting, we have Clover. Now, this is making me think, we're looking at Harris's point of view. Netanyahu may be more inclined to want to broker a peace deal with Harris in charge. That would be a lucky thing. People have to talk to each other. That's how wars end, is that there are peace talks. Okay. The card that comes after the clover is the snake, which tells us that this is a thorny problem, followed by the book. So I don't think Harris has yet figured out how she's going to handle Israel. I can mirror the first card, and here it's that scales card. How do I balance our interests against their interests? The constituencies that I have here in the US versus our obligations historically to Israel. How do I balance that? I don't know. This is her saying, I don't know. And then we have her mirroring the snake. This is a thorny problem. This is very thorny. Okay. So I drew some clarifiers on the snake, and I got the cross, the sun, and then crossroads. So this snake is really a problem that will keep her up at night, probably already has kept her up at night. I mean, these poor hostages that were just killed, it's just stunningly sad and horrific. That's this card. It's a card of pain. The sun makes it clear that another path has to be found. A path to peace has to be found. Crossroads is about choices, alternatives. Whatever we're doing, it's not working. So it's very clear to her that a new path to peace has to be found. And then, this last card in the original line of 5 was that she didn't know. So I thought, well, let's pull some clarifiers on that. And I got the fox, the anchor, and then the dog. She's smart. Despite what 45 would have you believe, Harris knows how to deal with the international situation and with world leaders. They will not be having their way with her. Oh, 45 and his people are just disgusting. But anyway, this is the card for an expert. someone who's smart and knows all of the ins and outs of things and how to balance. And then Anchor is great. I think that what she will be doing is finding a way to balance things, to say it is possible to be on the side of Israel and to be a friend to the Palestinians at the same time. She will be more open to achieving that balance than Biden is. So I like that. I think that's great. Again, it does not suit Netanyahu's purposes because to him, the Palestinians are anathema. I mean, 45 uses the word Palestinian as a pejorative, as a dig, as a diss, as an insult. That's not what Harris will do. So she will balance interests more evenly than have been balanced to date. All right, that's enough about that question. Okay, the next question that I want to look at was a reader's suggestion. And they wanted me to look at the Latino vote as we move forward from September to November. So where is the Latino vote? Now, Latino is kind of a catch-all umbrella term. But people say the Black vote, right? So I guess we can say the Latino vote. I'm gonna pull 3 cards, 3 for Harris, 3 for 45, and just see which line looks better in terms of getting the Latino vote on board. Okay. Well, it's pretty clear. This is Harris and the Latino vote. We've got the House, we've got the birds, and we've got the fox. People see her as an expert, including on issues that are of concern to the Latino community, whether it's jobs, whether it's housing, whether it's immigration. She's pretty tough on immigration, I will say that. But then there's a large contingent of the the Latino community that is also a little bit hardcore on the immigration question, right? They're more conservative on that. So that would be an appeal. I do think there's a lot of buzz in that community about her because that's the birds and this is the White House, just saying. So I think she will do well with the Latino vote. This is 45 in the Latino vote. Now, I did not orchestrate these cards to come out the way they came out. This is a block. There is a disconnect between him and this votership, the Latino vote, the Latino electorate. There is a wedge between him and them that will cause him in the end pain because they're going to go another way. Done and dusted. That's it. Okay. So that's that question. Hope I answered it. He will not win anybody's Latino vote. Harris will. And then the third question I thought I'd ask, this will be brief, because Sunday, it's a weekend, holiday weekend, happy Labor Day. Following hard upon Labor Day weekend will be the debate between 45 and Harris. It's scheduled for September 10th, assuming 45 doesn't come up with some reason to back out of it, which could happen. So I'm going to pull 3 cards again, and this will be on debate performance. So again, I'm going to pull 3 that will be the first 3 on how Harris will do. on the debate stage. Maybe I'll even pull more 5. And then I'll pull 5 for how 45 will do on the debate stage. As you're aware, I'm sure, the rules are going to be the same as they were the last time around, which is that the microphones will be muted for the person who is not meant to speak. So we know that, and we also know that there will be no live audience, just as there was no live audience the first time. Okay. Really interesting cards. And I'm going to say that this doesn't necessarily look like a walk in the park for either candidate. So for Harris, we have the moon, we have the ring, we have the coffin, we have the bouquet, and we have the mountain. Really interesting. So let's think about what that might mean. The moon is about reputation. Now, a debate is a particular genre. It's a particular kind of format. You're asked questions, you're meant to respond to the questions. That's it. All candidates have that tendency to obfuscate, to kind of skirt around a question, or, instead of answering the actual question that they were asked, they'll answer the question that they would prefer to answer, that kind of thing. So, but here we have this moon, and it is mirroring the mountain. So I'm not convinced that this debate will move Harris forward in any appreciable, substantive ways. People who are for her will still be for her. People who are against her will still be against her. Some people argue that the debate concept itself is a little bit antiquated, a little bit outdated for modern political times. I don't know, but I don't think it will advance her in any particular way. However, we have the ring, which mirrors the bouquet. I think she will be just as her supporters expect her to be. Dependable, this breath of fresh air, this gift that came to us on a Sunday afternoon, if you recall, a few weeks ago. So I think that they will feel okay about it. Now, the interesting card is the card in the center. Because on the one hand, well, you know what I think? I think that it's kind of literally what it looks like. I think she will feel boxed in by the format. God knows, not in the way that Biden was boxed in, because he was boxed in for other reasons. But I think she'll feel boxed in by the format. Even though the microphones are going to be off, she'll be able to hear his loud mouth while she's trying to talk. One of the rules that was in place for the last one was that there was going to be no real-time fact checking, which was really unfortunate. I'm assuming that rule is still in place. If it's still in place, it gives Trump the opportunity to just spin his stupid nonsense. And then there she is, left to be the voice of sanity and make sense out of things or make her own case. I think she might feel boxed in just by virtue of the format. It's not a make or break, I don't think. I think that her supporters will be supportive and will feel that she did well. I don't think it will advance her cause with anybody who's on the fence or with anybody who's against her. And I think she will be glad to get off the stage when the 90 minutes or however long it is done. Now let's look at 45. We have clouds, we have sun, we have mice, we have heart, and we have the whip. Okay. So I will say that as kind of law as her cards look, it's like no wins, no losses for her. For him, it looks not nearly as good even as that. His confusion, his lack of mental clarity will be clear as a bell. It'll be obvious. He, because he's not debating Biden, will be a nervous wreck. Now, of course, when he's nervous, it means he feels cornered. These are mice, but pretend that they're rats. Rats who are cornered tend to be at their ugliest because they're trying to save their lives. He's trying to save his political life. So he's going to be, confused. It's going to be very clear. All that's going to make him very nervous. Entertainment purposes only. I think this is the anatomical heart. Don't be surprised if he doesn't have some sort of situation arise. I don't know, like he gets out of breath. Maybe he has an episode of arrhythmia or of angina or just heart issues. I think that could happen here because for all his bravado, his brain can't keep up with what's going on around him in his life, and certainly on that debate stage. And his physical self, I suspect, may pay a price, and maybe in a really public way. Like, I don't know, they have to like immediately go to commercial. And then when they come back from commercial, there's only one person on the stage, and it's not him. So again, these are cards. This is energy that I'm reading. I'm reading what I see, not what I want to have happen, because I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I wonder whether there will be some physical event, heart related, due to the stress of the day and his inability to get his words out and to think clearly, that will cause him to have to I think he'll also repeat himself a lot. Think about what a whip is. It's a repetitive thing. Whip, whip, whip. He may repeat himself a lot. But I do think he'll feel a little heart stuff going on, and I hope that they have a doctor on the debate set. Just saying. So that's what I have for today. As always, if you've not liked or subscribed or shared, please do all of the above. I'd appreciate it. I would love if you were to ask questions of political nature or to do with culture or race, society, anything. There's nothing that's not beyond my card's ability to look at. So if you have questions, please just leave them in the comments and I'll be glad to look at them for you this week. Have a great Labor Day weekend, and I'll see you early next week. Bye-bye.